Although I think Grant and Karen have more hair on their face than John does.
All right, guys, we are live on the Facebook in our group. So we're broadcasting now to everyone. We got our group here, got an awesome, fun group here. So here's what we're going to do. We have some great guests with us tonight. My name's Kieran Murray, by the way. My lovely wife, Sherry Murray, is in one of those squares you see. And we are joined here tonight with the awesome folks, John Patterson, Heidi West from Patterson Cellars, and also Jack Patterson, who I think was here somewhere. I don't know if I lost him, there he is, down in
He's still
Florida.
here.
Who is John's dad. I don't know if he's going to pipe in and give us some words of wisdom. But so if you were on the Zoom, I would just ask you to mute yourself. If you have a question, feel free to, there's a button that says raise your hand. I don't know where it's at, but you can find it. Click the button. If you have a question for John or Heidi, we'll field any questions you have. If you're on Facebook and watching us live on Facebook, Sherry's monitoring that. Just type in your questions in the comment area, and we'll get those asked as well. So first of all, let me just welcome our guests, Mr. John Patterson and Mrs. Heidi West. Thank you guys for being here from Patterson Cellars. You guys are up in Woodinville tonight, right?
We are, yes.
And you guys are at the winery in the Woodinville in the warehouse district.
Correct.
Perfect. So let's start with this. So John, I was reading the bio before on the website and the media press kit, which is awesome. You guys have done a great job with that. I'll give all that credit to Heidi because I'm sure she did all that, right? Let's start with this. Let's start with how the winery got started, how long you've been in wine, the whole thing. Start from there. There's going to be some other questions. I deviate from that one, but tell us how Patterson Cellars came to be where we are right now today.
All right. So John Patterson, Patterson Cellars, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you tonight. So I started this with my father in 2000. I had worked at a winery since '87, just a part-time job right out of high school, going to college first time. And I worked there during harvest and then kind of graduated to a full-time position as I transitioned out of the corporate world. My father, I want to think, had worked at the winery since '79, just a part-time, harvest gig. And he'd worked with the owner at Kimberly Clark Scott Paper Company. So this is, I think, my 34th year. It's been good. So started Patterson in 2000 in Monroe, and then moved to Woodinville in 2007. So we're here in the warehouse district, do our production here. We have tasting rooms, 2 here in Woodinville, 1 in Leavenworth, 1 in Seattle. And we're, all across the board as far as winemaking styles. I mean, we're varietals and such. So we don't have anything we specialize in. We do anywhere from sparkling to dessert wines and in between. So.
And out of all the wine that you make, what is your favorite wine to produce?
Oh my gosh. I think my Riedland that I really enjoy, it reminds me of beer. It's probably my sparkling. So I really, I love the carbonation. So for me, it's fun to put together each year. We do a Blanc de Blanc, so white of whites, a sparkling Chardonnay, and then we do a Pinot Noir Rosé. So I think we're up to about 1,000 cases of the 2 sparkling wines now. And, but if I go to a dinner party, I grab like a Rhone, either Grenache, Syrah, tend to be the ones I lean towards. So it's just personal preference.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So answer me this one. So if I remember right, by reading the bio, the winery that you started at doing the stuff was Quilceda Creek. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
And did I hear you say that you started doing that for 13 years, like right out of high school?
Yes. So since '87, so I've worked with the kids, basically Paul, Marv, John, and then Alex worked with my father at Kimberly Clark. So yeah, just great family. I've known him for 30 plus years, and my father 40 some years. So yeah, they've always been very supportive.
Here's a small world story for you. You're talking about Kimberly Clark Scott Paper up in Everett, right?
Yes.
So I used to be a long haul truck driver, and I used to go to Kimberly Clark. I used to load up with toilet paper and take it to Southern California in my big rig like 30 years ago.
Wow. Very
All world, right?
And I used to use toilet paper rolls for a pillow during my late night shift. So I'd be like, all right, stay out of the way of the supervisor.
So tell me,
Sorry, Dad.
as you're coming to 2000, obviously you had to have a conversation with Dad around 98, 99, maybe even earlier. I don't know. How did that conversation happen where the two of you guys decided you were going to leave doing just the regular, just hanging out in the winery doing stuff, and you're going to start your own? What's that conversation like? What were you talking?
It was, I had just finished, we'd sold the company that I was working with, we'd sold that, and I'd went back to school, and I just had a conversation with my dad saying, I'd like to get into the wine industry more, having worked, full-time there at Colsita, and presented it to him, and we'd had the resources. So our first year, I think started up with it was about 2,000 cases in 2000. So it was more Cab Merlot, Cab Franc, Syrah, Chardonnay. And it was good. It was definitely a little more work. We'd never been home winemakers, so we'd only known the commercial aspect of it. So we didn't start with a small, out of the gate kind of thing. I get to meet a lot of fun wineries and stuff like that. I've either worked at a winery, have made home winemaking, graduated to larger productions and stuff like that. So I could see that across the board. But all I had ever known was just like, commercial production and, in a smaller scale. So 2,000 cases, I think the start was definitely interesting. A little bit of work logistically.
And you actually now, I think I was reading, don't you work with about, well, I don't even know how many wineries, but they're actually coming to your facility to do production and stuff or you do equipment rental. I mean, what you're doing is you're helping the smaller person get started in the business, right?
Yeah, we do processing for probably 30 plus other wineries, and we don't let anybody stay over. So we're not making anybody's wines here anymore. We used to do that early on, and we've just gotten to the point where it's like having a roommate. It's so nice when they finally move out. We enjoy them. We enjoy them for the moment with the dinners and the sharing of beer, but damn, it's nice when they go home. But so we've gotten to that point where we haven't needed that in our business plan. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely supportive. We do a lot of equipment rental, services into the business and stuff. So that's fun. I think as we grow in the company, we've kind of tried to evaluate it all the time and try to work smart. And it's kind of like a day off for me at times but I have to answer to my powers that be that ask what I do all day long. So I try to stay very focused.
So, and right now are you the sole winemaker, or do you have another winemaker that's working with you?
Oh no, we've got a great team. We've got Eric Peterson, we've got Jim, Cassandra. Everybody on our team is, got a background or technically trained in winemaking. So we have a really solid program as far as our staff here. So Eric's my lead, and then Jim, myself, Cassandra, all play a part in the winemaking. So I get to clean tanks, but I get to sit in on the blending trials and such. And so my job is kind of make sure the ball keeps rolling, and I'm happy with that job description.
So are you in the winery every day?
I'm here. I usually try to get one day off a week. So I would say 1 day a week. Yeah. 1 day. It's cheaper than mental counseling. And so if I can get out of the winery 1 day a week, I'm happy. And so is my staff. It just depends. So yeah, but I'm here all the time, and it's fun.
Right on. So I'm going to go back to, we were just talking about you helping out other people and stuff. So there's and we were just talking about this briefly actually before you jumped on with Heidi. So there's two schools that Sherry and I have kind of come across in the wine industry, that there's either the person who is, I don't want to work with anyone, I don't want to share anything, I just want to be on my own, and don't just leave me alone, I'm doing my stuff. And then there's the other one who is, I'm here to help as many people as I can, to take them on a great ride, and if they need something, I'm there. If they don't, I just whenever. And so the one thing that we've heard about you consistently, and the funny thing is, for those people watching, is we've never met John, we never met Heidi. I didn't even know what John looked like before he got on the Zoom tonight. And then I realized, wow, he looks a lot like I do. What a handsome fella. But here's what we hear around whenever we go to wineries in Woodinville. If your name comes up, which it does quite frequently, is people talk about, what a great team player you are, not for Patterson, but for the wine industry as a whole and for all the other wineries in the area, and that you are there as a resource for marketing. And maybe I've talked to people who did marketing things with you, or they picked your brain, or they talked about winemaking and picked your brain, and everybody always talks about how accessible John Patterson is in the wine industry. I hear it over and over and over again. And like I said, then there's the other type of person who will be like, no, we're not sharing any secrets. It's just stay away from us. We'll do our thing. Tell me about that philosophy of yours. And I'm going to guess, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say you probably got a lot of that, those traits and that background from that cool guy named Jack that's in the corner of mine. I'm gonna guess you probably got that from your dad. But tell me how, why you do that and how it is played out for you guys.
No, I think in the industry, I think it's important. If you're going to take the effort to make wine, I think the making part is easy. Getting it to bottle soundly is a little more difficult. And then the selling aspect of it is even more difficult. You have a lot of people that you compete against in the industry to sell wine. And I think just have truly an understanding. I mean, people reach out to me all the time. I'm say, let's get a beer, let's grab dinner. I'll talk you out of opening a winery. And my first thing is like experience, education. Where do you fall as far as your understanding of winemaking? I do not know everything about winemaking at all, and there's still so much more that does change throughout the process. So I believe truly that by helping other people and having them have an understanding. I mean, there are questions that I hate to say it, there are dumb questions in winemaking that I think if you're a commercial winery, you probably should have taken the effort to have answered for yourself before you're spending your 401k or your inheritance to go into this business. It's a hard business, and you want to put sound product in the bottle. I think that's the most important thing. And just instead of just marketing bad wine. So yeah, I mean, I will sit with you, walk through it, answer your questions. I love vaults. I mean, I think my staff hates me when we sit at the lunch table and we go through like vaulted wines. When you spoke of the Britannomyces from another winery that I won't mention, but I can't read. I don't have my readers on, but yes, the 12-pack and stuff. We all experience things as, I mean, wine is a food product that is always trying to hit zero and go south on you. And so you're trying to get it to the consumer to enjoy before it fails. And so, our goal, I think what the technology afforded us is much easier to produce better wines than when I started, 30, 20, even 10, 15 years ago. Things are much easier and the technology is much more affordable for us. Hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Well, and I even want to go back to what Karen was saying about everywhere we go, everybody talks about, how you're so super helpful, and how you've gotten them started and how you've, done whatever, right? Fill in the blank. John Patterson is amazing. I mean, we even have right now on our Facebook Live in our group, somebody who has said, that Patterson has helped a significant number of wineries in the warehouse district get going. I've bottled next to John at Pondera. So it's not just even when we go out wine tasting. It's not when we do this. I mean, case in point, right here, it's happening yet one more time that you are very, very well known in the industry of being a giver. And I mean, we're not industry. We don't make wine. We drink it. We enjoy it. But we wouldn't be able to drink and enjoy so many of them, I have a feeling, if it wasn't for you. So for that, I say thank you.
Right on.
Thank you.
So let's switch gears on that, because you were talking about, making the wine and all that good stuff. And then the next part of that is once it's bottled and once it's ready for sale, I know you guys are really focused on how do you make for a great customer experience, people to come into your tasting rooms and have a great experience, enjoy your wines, and then ultimately either join the club or buy bottles and take them home. And I think that lady that's sitting next to you probably has a lot to do with that. So I'm gonna ask her that question: is how do you and you have 4 tasting locations? Did you see John starting to lean back like he was going to sit back and not even talk anymore? He's like, "You take this one."
I was gonna reach out to Heidi for my wine. Thank you.
So Heidi, how do you guys set yourselves apart? What do you do if you do anything differently in your tasting rooms to make people feel like $1 million so they have a great experience? Because I know that's something that you're dealing with day in and day out every single day. So I guess how you can start too is tell me what your scope of things is. What do you do after the wine is produced? But then in particular, what's happening in those tasting rooms that people may or may not know about?
Yeah, great question, Karen. Thank you. So that is something that is super near and dear to my heart, just on how the experience goes when somebody walks through our doors. And it doesn't matter where they're coming from. They might be a novice drinker. They might be somebody who's very distinguished in the wine industry. We want the experience to be the same each and every time. And I think it goes back to the type of people that we bring on board to our team. I take it really seriously. I've been in a totally different field in my past lives. I think I've had 9, but my last one in healthcare, and it all goes back into having, I think, a service heart. And I stress that with my team often, of just how you treat people. You never know what kind of day they've had when they walk through the door. You don't know what's going on in their life. Some people come in and, they just want to come down and sit down and relax and have a glass of wine. Other people want to come in and talk and really understand your product. So we want to bring in people that, have that hospitality service industry, just want to give people just the best experience when they come through the door. And it takes a lot to find people like that. We don't hire people for their wine background necessarily. That's always great, but honestly, sometimes that comes with, different wineries do things differently. And I look for people that just have that great hospitality, service heart, that just want to treat customers, just give them this great experience. And so if they can do that, we can teach them all about wine. We've got the best teacher, in town. So
We have great staff.
we've just got a great team. And so, yeah, that's a huge part of what I do. I hire great people. And I think, John, we both just feel that our team, we can do everything on the back end, right? In this business to bring people through our door, but it's what happens when the customer walks through the door. I think our wines speak for themselves. I think John makes an incredible product. I was actually a wine club member years ago before I ever started with John, and I just loved the consistency of the wine that he produces. And so that's what brought me to Patterson Cellars originally. So the wine speaks for itself, but then when you can bring them this over-the-top customer service experience and just make them feel like family. And we have so many loyal people that have been in our club. We've got about 1,600 members in our wine club, and they're so loyal and they take really great care of us. So I think that, I hope, answers the question. It's all about the service heart and just what kind of experience that you create for people when they come through our doors.
So let me ask you this one, and then I'm gonna. I see you also have one of those people that you were referencing and that you hire. These awesome people, and one of those is actually on this Zoom with us. And so he probably didn't know this, but I'm going to bring him on in just a second. But first of all, tell me about some of the different marketing things you do, because we had talked before everyone else got on here about how you really work towards getting the brand new wine drinker in your doors. And you guys do some different types of marketing. For example, I'm drinking one of your bottles, and on the back of every bottle is a little pull tab that gives people complimentary wine tasting, right? So this was funny, is I probably drank a case of your wine before someone pointed out to me that this was on here. And frankly, it pissed me off to know that I'd thrown 12 bottles away. Didn't do that, right? But so tell me some of the different marketing ideas and things that you guys do that get brand spanking new wine drinkers, because we have a lot of brand spanking new wine drinkers in our group of almost 7,000 now. What do you do to get those people in your doors?
Yeah, well, as far as what you're talking about with our Patterson Cellars pull tab on the back of every bottle, a lot of people, I would say, thought John was crazy to do something like that, right? You're bringing people in and they're getting all of this complimentary wine and you know, we don't look at it like that. We look at it as an opportunity to bring new people in that may not necessarily ever walk into a tasting room. So maybe they bought that bottle of Giuliani at Costco. Maybe they, you know, enjoyed it over at a friend's house and said, hey, here's a tasting pull tab. I'm not going to be going around Woodinville. You should go check them out. So it's people like that we're totally intrigued by, to not only turn them on to Patterson Cellars, but the Washington wine industry in general. And so, you know, we look at it as an opportunity. We don't look at it as, you know, people coming in and enjoying free wine. You know, that's just not who we are. We also do, we participate in Groupons on occasion. We've got a couple Groupons going right now for our Leavenworth location and our Seattle location. John is the president of Woodinville Wine Country. There's a passport program that many of you are probably familiar with that used to be through Costco. It's through Woodinville Wine Country now. But, you know, we want to just create a great welcoming experience for people. And, you know, like we said, we do a lot. We have, and I have to give a shout out, we also have somebody else from Patterson Cellars on the call. Haley, she's actually our marketing manager.
What?
She's on the call. Yeah, there she is. And she is, Haley also happens to be my daughter. She is my oldest daughter. I only hired the best people. I told you guys that. People that I can trust. But Haley, yeah, she knocks it out of the park, and she really hits home, I think, with a lot of the millennials are a big population of who's drinking wine right now. And I'm sure, you know, all of you guys seen that out there. They're very curious. They're very intrigued. I know I didn't start drinking good wine until my 30s, but you know, they're very interested, and it's a huge population of who is purchasing Washington wine and just wine in general now. So Haley knocks it out of the park with creating great social media content and you know, Facebook Lives, things like this that really bring intrigue to what's going on in Washington wine.
So if I'm ever seeing things on Facebook from Patterson Cellars that I'm then sharing, did that come from Haley to start with?
More than likely, yes. She handles all of our social media and a lot of different things on the back end. I used to do that. I think I did all of that for a couple years, and then I'm kind of moved on to some other ventures. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, it's for me being in that a little bit older generation. I'm still learning the whole social media thing. So Haley just, she gets it.
Right on. So let's do this one. Let's go back and talk about that other guy that works for you. That's also here that we've had a great experience with. And so you can probably unmute yourself there, Javan. So we had the opportunity. I don't even know. Maybe it was 2 months ago or a month and a half. We went up to Soto, and Heidi was able to set us up with a tasting at the Soto facility, and it was just amazing. So we were able to sit down. I think it was maybe when we first were able to get back indoors or something, because we sat right at the very first table. And I just, man, I don't know what it was, but I just felt like it was like we were being treated like royalty. I mean, Javan was just like all over it. But then he brought out this charcuterie board that was probably, it had to be, wouldn't you say, Sherry, one of the nicest charcuterie boards that we've ever seen?
It wasn't one of the nicest. It was the nicest charcuterie board we have ever had.
I mean, the board itself was unbelievable.
Other than, of course, the ones that I make here at home.
Yeah.
Okay, just to clarify.
The board itself was unbelievable, but then everything on it was just, and it paired so well. And we started off with the rosé, which I'm not a huge rosé guy. And the funny part of that was And we've never done this ever. And I mean, normally when we go tasting, we try to set appointments. So we have 3 tastings in a day, you know, spread out 2 hours apart. So we can kind of take our time. And we never buy a bottle to sit there and enjoy because we're going to go to another tasting. And by the time we got done, if we did that at all, I mean, we'd be lit by the time it was time to go home. We'd have to sleep in our car in a parking lot. So we'll buy bottles to take home, but we've never, ever, ever purchased a bottle at a winery to sit there and enjoy until we went to Patterson Soto, had this rosé with this stuff on the charcuterie board. And we got done with the tasting part of it. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff on that charcuterie board left that goes really well with this rosé. We need to buy a bottle. And we drank that bottle with that. I mean, we just devoured it. It was unbelievable. And it was one of the best, the coolest tastings that we've ever done. It was really awesome. And that was because of Javan and just being able to talk to him about the wines. And he obviously has that heart for hospitality. And then a cool thing about that was too, is when we were just back up, I think it was last Saturday or maybe the Saturday before, we went to another winery in the Soto district. We got seated. So, and I'm not going to say where we were, but we got seated. And as soon as we were seated, the very first person we saw next wasn't an employee from that winery we're at. It was Javan, who came from, maybe he saw us walking across the parking lot or something, but came to the other winery to say hello. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, and so he's high-fiving, shaking hands, doing, I was like, that's the hospitality. That's the servant's heart. That's that has zero to do with wine. It's nothing to do with wine. But now you start mixing all that together and it's unbelievable. So Javan, since you're unmuted, just tell me about your thoughts about hosting people in a tasting room in Soto, and what's in it? What do you like about it? Just tell me about the whole experience. So I know that, you know, Heidi and everyone's doing their thing to put the best team together, but you're literally the boots on the ground kind of guy that's got to get the stuff done, right? So tell me about getting the stuff done on a day-to-day basis with those clients are sitting in front of you.
Well, first of all, I appreciate everything you said. John and Heidi both give me the ability to do what I do to the best of my ability. And they give me the ability to stretch my legs and do the things that as a manager I can do down in Soto. I started with John almost 7 years ago. He recruited me to do some food for him. And it's been a roller coaster ever since. It's been the best trip of my life. But going back to working day to day in a tasting room, with COVID and everything that's going on, John and Heidi have done a great job of giving me the resources I need to be able to do my job indoors and out. By putting up a tent outside to giving me stuff to shovel snow with, you name it, I've done it. And that's the great thing about John. If I need something, I'm on the phone with him within minutes. He's got a solution. Sometimes it's him himself showing up. Other times it's, you need to go get this and get it done and take care of it. And so having that autonomy with my company is a really great thing. And the ability to meet the customer where they're at, like Heidi talked about earlier, you get the people that know you on a regular basis to people that I've never met. I never met you guys. And I had the greatest opportunity. Heidi's like, hey, do you mind just doing your thing and putting together a wine and cheese experience charcuterie board? I'm like, I love doing it. It's something that brings me a lot of joy. And I know you're not a big rosé guy. And so when I poured that, you looked at me a little strange, and I was like, all right, we're gonna make this work.
And the crazy thing is normally we pass on it completely because neither one of us typically enjoy it. And you kind of just looked at us like, no, it's okay, go ahead.
It's a safe place. It's a very safe place. We try not to screw up too badly every day. That's my line.
So then the other part about that though is before we left, so we had that bottle, and then you had recommended that Red Mountain Cuvée, which we hadn't even tried. And I was just like, yep, if you're recommending it, we're taking it home. And I got to tell you, when we came home and drank that, I was like, this is one of the best bottles of wine I've ever had. This thing was phenomenal. I love that one. So I can't wait to
That's
get have more of that one.
Well, unfortunately, I'm sold out of that vintage, but I'm sure we
How
have.
do I mute
another
Javin? How do I
How do
mute
we
him?
mute him? How do we kick him out of here?
We haven't figured that part out.
Javin's got to
Well,
go.
there's a wall of wine behind me that probably has a few bottles, I promise.
I was going to say, I know Amy has one more bottle because she's been boasting about it.
I'm sure I have one or two bottles. No, I really do love what I do every day. And from meeting people like you to the person that is a sommelier that knows more about wine than I will ever pretend to know. It's taking that experience and showing it to them every day, what we do at Patterson and why we do it. You know, I wish I would have known on your first bottle about a pull tab, because it gives me the ability to share that story with people and why we do it. I don't want anyone to ever leave a tasting room not knowing about that. Groupon, whatever it may be. If you buy a bottle over $25, I'm waiving your tasting fee. I just want you to come in and hang out and have an enjoyable time. If you want to be left alone, I'll try to do that. I'm not very good at it, but you know, I just want you to love your experience at Patterson as much as I did. Kind of like Heidi, I moved to Seattle in 2013, and the first month that I lived here, I went into Patterson Cellars Woodinville, and John Patterson was pouring wine, and back then you had to buy 6 bottles to join the wine club. I bought a case and a half. That should have been my first knowledge that this was going to be trouble. But I've kind of been really blessed in my life to be a part of something as great as Patterson, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
Right on. That's awesome.
You know, the one thing that we've really found, because I mean, we've only been really drinking wine together for about 4 years. And we've only been wine tasting in tasting rooms and wineries for about 2. But the one thing that we found that's pretty consistent is how much love you guys have for each other in the industry, and how much love that you guys have for your customers. And I can't tell you how much it means to Kieran and I, but I'm sure we are not getting special treatment. I'm pretty sure this is how you guys treat everybody, is when we walk into the doors of the tasting rooms or to the wineries, you guys, I mean, it's like we're Norm from Cheers, right? It's like, hey, and it's such a fun place to be and such a fun place to walk into. And even like in Soto, you saw us there and you came over and acknowledged us, and it was, hey, how are you? And hugs and all of that kind of stuff. It's like you walk into any tasting room in Washington, I swear to God, and it's like I walk in and I feel like I'm home and I'm with friends. And Javin, you just do such a phenomenal job at making people feel welcome and making them feel important. And again, I know it's not just Kieran and I know that that's just who you are. I can tell. And that's how you do that to everybody. So I really feel, you know, Patterson Cellars is very, very lucky to have you, because you represent their brand very, very well.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate that. I just want to clarify for everybody that's on Facebook that might be freaking out. We elbow bump, I wear masks, I wear gloves. You can ask John, I go through more supplies than anybody in his whole company, I'm sure, by far. I don't want people freaking out that I'm hugging you guys and freaking out about that.
Okay, it was totally not even in your, it wasn't in Patterson at all. It was
okay. I need people to know that we do follow the rules.
We didn't enjoy it.
We use lots of sanitizer that John has to pay for me.
They do. They follow all of the rules. I'm typically the rule breaker, and you know, that's just the way it's gonna be.
I'm really okay with that. I just have to let the world know that we do our best here.
You know what
Don, there
what
is
love
there is
ab-
no contacting him tomorrow and having a sit down. He really did
Oh.
follow the rules.
He
What
gets
I-
tested like 3 times a week, I promise.
I really do.
He has a crush
They
on
know
one
me
of the
by
ladies at the drive-through testing station in Soto, and he goes through there all the time. Sorry, Javin.
I love
They do know me by name, but that's because she has the same last name as me. Okay, I didn't
All
make
right,
that up.
stop.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what Sherry was talking about was, you get to know someone like that. And for us, and I know that it's that way for a lot of other people, but like if we went to Soto, I can guarantee you that we couldn't leave there without at least stopping by and waving hello and fist bumping, doing whatever. Because it's like if you don't stop in and see your friends, then you feel guilty that you didn't stop in and say hello to your friends, even if you weren't wine tasting, because there's a lot of great wineries there, but you still have to stop in and say hello to your friends because they're your friends and that's what you're supposed to do. So when Javan treats you like that, it makes you want to be able to go back and say hello and maybe stop in and have another rosé that you weren't drinking before. But that's that hospitality thing that Heidi was talking about. And I have to say that not all the wineries we've been to do it as well as you guys at Patterson. So, I mean, that's obviously from John and Heidi and Javan and everyone else in the tasting rooms and winemakers and Haley doing her stuff. You guys all have a great culture of just making people feel like $1 million. And as the recipient of that, man, we love that. And that's when you talk about making a great experience. Well, I can raise my hand and say, yeah, well, we were part of that deal. And John, I was telling Heidi before you came on too, we had a friend of ours who took 2 or 3 of her friends last weekend up to Woodinville. And she posted in our group that she took her friends who are brand spanking new to wine tasting out for a day of wine tasting, and how much they had just totally fallen in love with it. They raved about it. Her friends were like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it didn't shock me at all when she posted that the place they went to was Patterson Cellars in Woodinville. So I was like, yes, I mean, it was just so cool. So just hats off to you guys for everything you guys do, because it's a great experience.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I do want to go back to Javan really quick too, because he is somebody that he does really stand out in our company and in so many ways, right? But he's also our executive chef. So, when we're not in this crazy pandemic life that we've all been leading, we host some pretty good parties.
I know.
And Javan is our executive chef. He has hosted many of those private events for our club members, and he's just amazing at what he does. He's culinary trained, and so the charcuterie board that you enjoyed is just the tip of the iceberg of what this man actually does. He's very talented in food, and we're he's a lot of fun to work with.
Maybe that's just a tease. That's just not even
Yeah.
fair.
Right? Well,
So-
just
Tomorrow, Javan.
all this, and you guys will get to come out and enjoy all that.
So,
Absolutely.
so Heidi and John, let's talk about this one, because you have great space. We haven't been to the Leavenworth location yet, but we're going to get there this summer. But we've been to both locations in Woodinville and obviously in Soto. And the Hollywood is a great place to go. There's obviously the biggest challenge there is always parking. That's for everybody. But they, obviously the same great wines, and they got that great pizza next door. But as we're moving forward in our group, the Let's Talk About Northwest Wines group, we have the ability then to do some events, especially coming out of COVID, or even now. I mean, indoor seating, probably in a case like your guys, you could do 25, 30 people. But as we start to get through this stuff, we're going to up it. So we need to do some parties, like in Soto and in the Woodinville, in the winery, in the warehouse district. So I'm going to put it to you guys. You can talk about this amongst yourselves. I'm not going to make you commit to something tonight, but I do want to do something with our group in Soto. I do want to do something up in the warehouse district, and you guys can try to figure out what makes for a really cool event. I'm not even going to worry about that because I think you guys will just blow the doors off. So all you need to do is let us know, hey, here's a date we were thinking about, and here's what we were thinking about, and would you like, could we do something? And the answer is probably yes, as long as we're in town. And our thing is we just want to bring more people in to have the experiences that we've got to have so far, because everybody deserves those kind of experiences. And so if we can be a participant in bringing people in to put them in front of you guys, so then you can do all that cool stuff, serve them great wine and treat them like $1 million, well, then Sherry and I kind of feel like we've done our, what we're here for. So I really want to do some events in those spaces, and knowing that John's there every day and only has one day off, that'll be for a good one, because we can just sit there and drink all day and never leave. But
Yeah.
if you guys come up with something, we're all in.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we're excited to get back to it. This has been, we're coming up on our spring release for our wine club. We release 2 allocations a year, spring and the fall. And, normally we've been planning for literally months what goes into a wine club release. And we still have a bunch of fun things planned for our club members coming up as we go into the end of the month here. But the parties have been a really good time. We enjoy the events. I think the events the most fun thing that I see that comes out of those events is people that are guests of whoever is hosting that have never been to the winery, right? They've never been out. They come here to the warehouse district, and they're like amazed that there's, so many wineries right here. And so it's fun to watch the expressions of people that aren't really into this type of thing, and they walk in and they start having so much fun, and they think that they're going to stay for a little bit, and then they end up staying for hours at these events because they're just having a really good time. And I think that's been the most fun, is to turn people on that would never have set foot out wine tasting before. And it's a really good way to introduce wine to new people.
And I think when we talk about the size of events, I like, I love a huge event, but I don't think a huge event is the best event for what we're doing with you guys in a winery setting. I think, and this is just going through this whole COVID thing, as a consumer, I love going to a winery where it's small enough where there's not a ton of people, to where you might have an opportunity to talk to the winemaker, or the guy who's making the wine, him or the owner of the company. And when it's, before, let's say not last summer, but the summer before, when things are packed and you got, 50, 60, 70, 80 people in the tasting room, you're not going to get the attention of the guy or the lady who's making the wine. It's just not going to happen. But if there's an opportunity where, and I know for us, for Sherry and I, we're like, this is the very best thing for us is if we can do a tasting and the owner or the winemaker is there, and we can have an opportunity just to say hello, talk about the wines. That's the best tasting. And actually the best tasting is if we can do some sort of a barrel tasting. That's our absolute favorite. But, and I know how big of a deal that is for us. That's the kind of experience we want to do with our people in our group. Is we want to bring in the group that's big enough that makes a big difference for you guys as the winery owners and selling the wine, but small enough that the people that are there can go, oh my gosh, especially if it's their first time. And Heidi, this is what you're talking about. Their first time, not only did they go to the warehouse district and go, oh my gosh, look at all this, but I went to Patterson Cellars and drank wine with the owner and the guy that makes the wine, and his name is on the bottle. Shut up, right? I mean, end of story. And so for me, I think it's, for those people, I think it's an easier sell for bottles, and it's an easier sell to join the club, because you had an opportunity to make them feel like $1 million more so than if it was a huge event. And so what I would like to do, say in the warehouse district, is I'd love to do a huge event of like 500 people, but they were dispersed amongst all the different wineries, and they all took turns moving around. But but I also just want to do something like at your place, and that's the only place we're going, is we got 25 or 30 or 40 people, whatever that number is, and say, come here and meet the winemaker and drink some awesome wines. You're gonna love this. And they're all paying for their tastings, and they're doing their thing, and they're having a great time. I just think it would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, we'd love to put something like that together. And oh, hey, Chris.
What are you doing
Chris
next
from
weekend?
Truth
Oh, Chris is there. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris, perfect timing. Just let you know the start at 7 p.m., pal.
Talk.
So we're gonna be
I have dinner cooking duties.
we're actually going to be drinking wine with Chris about 4 o'clock tomorrow in Walla Walla. So
Very good.
We'll be tired, and we'll have a couple of tastings under our belt. So God help you.
hey, Sherry, did you have any questions either from Facebook or from within the Zoom or anything? If you guys have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll get those answered before we sign off. And I don't know, Sherry, if you had any other questions or comments from Facebook.
Not yet, no.
Right on. All right. Heidi, John, Jovan, is there anything you guys want to add before we start to wrap things up?
You know, just kind of going back on what you were talking about, Kieran, with the events, we would love to invite people out, especially around the harvest time. So this harvest was a lot different because of the COVID situation. Normally we do tours and we get people out there to really see what the winemaking process is all about. And a lot of times it's not our wine that we're producing back there. We're helping other people produce their wine. So we can give a lot of tours, and it's people love it. We get wine in their hands, they come back, they see the grapes, they see what we're doing. It's a lot different than what they expected. And so that's really fun to show somebody what that looks like for the first time. But the harvest season is a ton of work and 24/7 operation. So it's fun to bring people around during that time as well for events when they can really see what's going on back there.
Don't ever invite me to help do the work of making it, because then I might not like it as much. I don't want to have to work my ass off to go make it and then drink it. I just want to drink the good stuff. So you guys do all the work, take all the credit. I'll drink it.
Okay, but wait, did you not see my face? I was like getting all excited about harvest, and then you went, "Don't ever invite us." And I was like,
"Oh, no, I said don't invite me. I'll drive you up there and drop you off."
Oh, okay. Okay, as long as I want to experience it all, the good, bad, and the ugly, because I know it's not all, beauty pageants and all of that stuff. So I feel slighted because we started doing this whole tasting thing just before COVID hit. So you guys are talking about all these parties and all of this extravagant things that you've done. And we're like, well, we haven't gotten any of that. So I'm really looking forward to any opportunity that we can be around more people and learn more about wine and the whole process of it. And baby, whether you like it or not, you'll be there.
Well, I'll be in the tasting room just tasting the wine or something. But I mean, the last thing that John wants is the headline saying, "Let's talk about Northwest Wine's founder, fat guy Kieran Murray, has heart attack in vat of grapes at Patterson Cellars," right? That's just not a good headline.
Maybe this is not a I Love Lucy episode where you're going to be in there like squashing them with your feet, right, John?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
I haven't seen your feet, but I'm gonna probably not.
So two things. One, we would never say it was our wine that you were working on if you died. Second of all, I just want you to know that the experience that you guys had at Patterson, we do offer other experiences, a wine and chocolate experience, a cheese and charcuterie, and several others. And I just wanted to put those out there that if you want to book those through the website, they're available down in Soto as well as up at our Hollywood location, if I'm correct, Heidi. And
Woodinville and the warehouse. Yep.
yeah, yep. And so those are experiences you can have at each one of our locations that is a little bit different than what other wineries offer. And I just want to throw that out there before we end our conversation.
Thank you, Jobin.
That is just one of the highlights of my job that I get to do. They talked about my culinary background. I get to pair a lot of chocolate with a lot of wine, and that means I get to do two things I love: eat and drink, and get paid for it. So I hope
That's
that
three
the people
things.
that are I don't have that many figures. So
Jobin's still worried about that hugging comment, so he's trying to make up for it. Right, look, we got this, we can sell you, and this, and this. And so he's fucking up right now.
No,
yes.
normal circumstances, that's what we do. We hug everybody. That's just kind of the people that we are. But not
We
right
didn't
now.
hug.
We're not hugging.
I was totally mistaken.
We elbowed.
I was overcome by emotion in the moment. We totally just seriously fist bumped. We air hugged. I mean, that's all it was.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect.
So Laurel, I think Laurel had a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Could you describe a little bit the differences in your different tasting rooms, and would you have a different experience visiting each one of those? And then also second question would be, in the warehouse district in Woodinville, how do you try to attract people there, competing with say, for example, a destination experience like Chelan with the gorgeous, scenery and wineries and, hillside vistas and things like that. So appreciate the comments on that.
To answer your last question, I always say Woodinville is kind of your jumping off place to learn about Washington wines. I think we have all the AVAs represented here by different wineries, and you can visit Woodinville, 45 minutes from Seattle with traffic. You can, hit it every weekend. We have people that come every weekend, not to just our tasting rooms, but many others. But I think it's a great introduction to Washington wines. And we always talk about the AVAs where the grapes are growing and promote for people to, travel to Chelan, to Walla Walla, Columbia Valley, Yakima Valley proper. And so, even that we're in the Puget Sound AVA, we still talk that up as well. So I want to think with the area, I think it's a great starting point, if that answers your question there. I don't look at it as like competition or, come here, come there. It's I think it just familiarizes yourself with the wines. And
Yeah,
then
it's just
back
like,
to your,
if we're picking a wine weekend with the girls, and we're trying to go someplace, a destination place, it's like the warehouse district doesn't have quite the appeal that the Chelan has. So, it's like,
They're really
talk me out of it, or convince me that I should, go to Woodinville instead. So
that's a hard one. I mean, we push people over to our Leavenworth location. We just don't have the lodging here in Woodinville. And we have like a lot of, 100 plus great wineries that you can, and some great accommodations and restaurants and stuff. But I think a lot of people, like get in the car, drive to Eastern Washington, hang out outside their norm and check out some awesome wineries. So we never try to pull anything back from that. I love going to, Chelan myself. It's fun to get over there. It's warm. You see all the different wineries, and then Leavenworth as well. There's some great choices. And so, yeah, I strongly recommend getting out there outside your comfort zone. People come in all the time. And I think that was like the passport to Woodinville. It just teaches you to like try other wines, instead of the three that you always will hit when you come up to an area. It just gets you to like try some of the newer ones and expand your, maybe it's not something you enjoy, you get to see the wineries as they grow and progress through their winemaking styles. But I think picking the ones you don't go to all the time are so important. And there's so many different choices when you're out there tasting that I think is a bonus for the consumer.
Mm-hmm. And Laura, going back to your question on the warehouse district, a lot of times you're going to find the winemakers are going to be here when you visit on the weekends. They are here interacting with their guests, and you can really, you usually get a chance to meet them. John is always here on the weekends for the most part, unless he's bottling or filtering for somebody. But normally when we have guests here on the weekends, he's here. And I find that with a lot of our wineries in the warehouse district, that you'll really get a more hands-on experience and understanding of the winemaking process and the equipment and kind of the grit that goes into winemaking is in the warehouse district. So it's a
You know,
fun
it's
place.
really funny. I don't necessarily agree with Chris very often. Just kidding, Chris. I agree with you more frequently than not. But he had a very lucid thought in his comment, just saying that, John, you're underselling the warehouse district. You know, warehouse is amazing. It's not the vineyard experience, but it's hands-on. Open the garage door and see what you can do. The attitude is awesome. The winemaker's on site, and it's absolutely great. So Chris, I agree.
Yeah, no, I'm very supportive of our area here and stuff like that. I'm the
And not to be left out in the cold, but
Yes.
Soto's even another experience, right? So
Yeah.
there's 16 different wineries down there, some from Walla Walla, some from this side of the state. So again, I think you get a really good perspective of Washington wine in Soto that you wouldn't get at other locations. And I think that's one of the reasons why John decided to put a tasting room down there, is everyone down there doesn't make the same wine. It's very different, and it's a super cool place to be. So that's my plug.
Laurel, you had a first question that I didn't want to overlook. Can you?
Yeah, there's just the difference between your tasting rooms and the different locations. Or do you change it up based on the location, or is it pretty much the same experience at all of them?
No, I mean, we mix it up. It's fun over, so we have our Leavenworth location, and it's so damn hot there in the summer months. We do like a frosé, which is a lot of fun. And to push that through, we call him Dad. He's like, Eric, he's our lead winemaker, and we reference him on that. We're like, we probably wouldn't end up with a frosé machine in Hollywood or the warehouse. Jobin keeps pushing hard for one in Seattle. I now own like way too many frosé machines. Somebody keeps pushing to me an offer up, and I'm like, I can't say no. But
Wow,
we do the
it's a good deal.
Yeah, we do the mulled wine, the hot spice wine in Leavenworth. We brought that over to the Woodinville at times, and so I think we have a great, we have really solid locations and staff, and so you get to like, it's like I love the people watching aspect of our tasting rooms. You get to sit there and just kind of see the tourists come through, and for me, that's really entertaining. I never grew up with cable TV, so my tasting rooms are kind of my entertainment. And so, but Soto's got that urban feel. We've got some solid wineries around us that produce wine there, and we've got people that are just have like bottle shops that sell wine. Do I have a favorite? I think the warehouse, because it's dark and I can hide out in the back. But it's all across the board, to each their own.
Yeah, Leavenworth is, I'm so proud of Leavenworth, and a lot of it too, we opened that location in 2017, I believe. And John and I decided to kind of take this leap of faith when a Front Street location. So I don't know, has anybody been to Leavenworth that's on this call right now?
Yeah.
So if you know, on the Wine Walk, yeah. So if you know Leavenworth, Front Street is where everything happens. So we got an opportunity to move from a different location. We were kind of off the beaten path, and we got an opportunity to move early in 2020 to a new space on Front Street. And it was an old clock shop, and it needed a lot of work, but the location was just amazing. And so then, the pandemic hit, and the contractors were scarce. You really didn't want to be around anybody. But here we are. We've got this, we've got 2 locations in Leavenworth. We're all shut down, and we need somebody to build out our location. So John was over there the entire pandemic last year, building out pretty much by himself our space. And so when you go over there, it's 2 stories. It's absolutely stunning. And you go into Leavenworth, and you're surrounded by these mountains, and it's kind of Christmas all year long. And it's just like this gorgeous Bavarian town that you feel like you're in another world. And so I just encourage all of you to go over there and just see what it's like, and check it out during different seasons of the year. Oktoberfest obviously is so much fun during the holidays, during the tree lighting, but in the summer, it's fantastic. There's so much to do, and definitely check out one of our rosés. But all of our locations are very different. They're very unique. They kind of still follow along with that Patterson you know, that vibe that we have, but they're all unique and a lot of fun.
Great, thank you.
Great question, Laurel. Sherry, any other questions that have come in? All right. Well, thank you guys. This has been awesome. John and Heidi and Job, and thank you guys for just being here and sharing with us. I can't wait now to get back to, well, Jobin's going to get that frozen machine or whatever, and we'll have that, and then we'll go have the chocolate and all those other things.
Great, no pressure.
No pressure, John, but you got to make room for it.
Absolutely. But we appreciate you guys coming on tonight, sharing with our whole group. And I just, whenever we get a chance, we always recommend people and refer them and say, go to any one of the Patterson locations, because it's just a great experience. So we appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate all of you guys, the rest of you on Zoom for being here, and everybody on Facebook for watching. Thank you guys. When you get a chance, go in, make some reservations at any one of the 4 different locations of Patterson Cellars. Let them know where you found them. If it's on Let's Talk About Northwest Wines, and let's make sure they know that you found them through the group. But you guys all have a great night. John and Heidi, can't wait to see you guys again. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, thank you.